The daring decision entering Blackwood Forest. Sunlight dappled the forest floor. Leaves crunched under Sarah's feet. A light breeze rustled the trees, whispering secrets. She ventured deeper, ignoring the shiver that ran down her spine. Blackwood Forest was said to be haunted. Legend spoke of lost souls and ancient evils. Sarah, ever the skeptic, had scoffed at the stories. Now, surrounded by the forest's eerie silence, doubt crept in. The path, clear at first, began to fade. Twisted branches, gnarled like skeletal fingers, reached out. The air grew heavy, filled with the smell of damp earth and decaying leaves. An unsettling feeling settled upon Sarah. She was lost. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting long, eerie shadows, Sarah quickened her pace. Fear, cold and sharp, pierced her heart. Each rustle of leaves, every snapping twig, sounded like approaching footsteps. The forest was coming alive, closing in around her. The forest floor was a tangled mess of roots and vines. Thorns tore at Sarah's clothes, slowing her progress. Panic welled in her chest, making it hard to breathe. She had to find her way out before darkness consumed the forest entirely. Giant trees loomed over her, their branches intertwining to block out the last rays of sunlight. The air grew colder, damper. Strange shapes seemed to form in the gathering shadows, watching her with unseen eyes. A twig snapped behind her. Sarah whirled around, heart pounding. Was she being followed? She saw nothing but the deepening shadows and the unsettling sway of the trees, but the feeling of being watched persisted, sending chills down her spine. Fear lent speed to her steps. She pushed through the undergrowth, ignoring the scrapes and scratches that covered her arms. She had to escape this place, this nightmare of whispering leaves and lurking shadows. Twilight descended, painting the forest in shades of gray and black. The air grew thick with the smell of damp earth and the faint, cloying scent of decay. Sarah stumbled through the undergrowth, her fear a living thing inside her. Strange noises echoed around her, the distant howl of an animal, the rustling of leaves, a low, guttural growl that sent shivers down her spine. Every sound made her jump, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. She tripped over a gnarled root, falling heavily to the ground. Pain shot through her ankle. Tears welled in her eyes, blurring her vision. She was lost, alone, and night was falling fast. Suddenly, through the trees, she saw it, a faint, flickering light. Hope, sudden and unexpected, surged through her. Gathering her remaining strength, she limped towards the light, praying it was a sign of civilization. The light led her to a clearing. In the center stood a small, ramshackle cabin, its windows glowing with a warm, inviting light. Smoke curled from its chimney, painting wispy trails against the darkening sky. Relief washed over Sarah. Someone was home. Maybe they could help her. She limped towards the cabin, her hand outstretched to knock on the weathered wooden door. As she approached, she noticed the silence. The forest, so alive with strange noises just moments before, was eerily quiet. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath as if watching and waiting. Sarah hesitated, a flicker of unease running through her. Something felt off, wrong, but the need for shelter, for safety, outweighed her growing apprehension. She raised her hand and knocked, the sound sharp and loud in the stillness. Section 5. The Kindly Caretaker, Meeting the Old Woman. The door creaked open, revealing a dimly lit interior. A fire crackled in the hearth, casting dancing shadows on the rough-hewn walls. Standing in the doorway was an old woman, her face etched with wrinkles, her eyes surprisingly bright in the firelight. "Why, child, you're hurt!" the old woman exclaimed, her voice surprisingly strong. Come in, you mustn't stay out in the dark." Sarah stepped inside, her senses overwhelmed by the warmth and the smell of wood smoke. The old woman helped her to a chair, her touch surprisingly strong. "There now, dearie," she said. "Rest a while. I'll get you something warm to drink." As the old woman busied herself at the stove, Sarah took in her surroundings. The cabin was small and cluttered, filled with strange trinkets and herbs hanging from the rafters. A sense of unease settled over Sarah, a feeling that something wasn't quite right. Section 6. A sense of unease, whispers in the night. Sarah's heart pounded as she heard whispers in the night. The trees seemed to close in on her, their branches like skeletal fingers reaching out. Every rustle of leaves sent shivers down her spine. She felt an eerie presence, as if unseen eyes were watching her every move. The whispers grew louder, more insistent, filling her with dread. She knew she had to keep moving, but the fear was paralyzing. Would she ever escape this haunted forest? Section 7. The Truth Concealed. The Old Woman's Transformation. The fire crackled and popped, sending sparks swirling up the chimney. The old woman sat across from Sarah, her eyes fixed on her with an unsettling intensity. "You shouldn't be in these woods, child," she said, her voice low and menacing. "The forest, it doesn't like strangers." Sarah's hand tightened around her mug, her knuckles turning white. I got lost," she stammered, her voice trembling. "I didn't mean to come here." The old woman's face contorted into a grotesque mask of rage. Her eyes glowed with an eerie light, and her skin seemed to crack and peel, revealing something dark and sinister beneath. "Lost!" she hissed, her voice dripping with venom. "You were brought here, child! Brought to me!" Terror seized Sarah's throat, choking off her words. The mug slipped from her grasp, shattering on the wooden floor. She scrambled back, her eyes wide with fear as the old woman rose from her chair, her form shifting, growing larger, more monstrous. Section 8. Terror in the cabin, confronting the sinister figure. The old woman was gone. In her place stood a creature of nightmare, tall and gaunt, with glowing red eyes and jagged teeth bared in a cruel snarl. Its skin was the color of death, stretched taut over bones that protruded at unnatural angles. Sarah cowered against the wall, her heart pounding against her ribs like a trapped bird. The creature stalked towards her, its breath hot and foul on her face. "You cannot escape, child," it hissed, its voice a guttural growl. "The forest demands a sacrifice." Adrenaline surged through Sarah, banishing her fear. She scrambled to her feet, her eyes darting around the room, searching for an escape. The windows were boarded shut, the door bolted from the inside. She was trapped. The creature lunged, its claws outstretched. Sarah screamed and threw herself to the side, narrowly avoiding its grasp. She scrambled to her feet, her mind racing. She had to fight back, had to find a way to survive this nightmare. Section 9. A light in the darkness, the rescue and escape. Just when the creature was about to grab her, a blinding light filled the cabin. The creature shrieked, a high-pitched wail that echoed through the forest. Sarah shielded her eyes, momentarily blinded by the sudden illumination. Through the light, Sarah saw figures appear, 2 men dressed in dark clothes, their faces grim. One held a bright lantern, the source of the blinding light. The other held a strange, intricate symbol aloft, its surface glowing with an otherworldly energy. "Leave this place, creature of darkness!" one of the men shouted, his voice booming through the cabin. "Your time here is over!" the creature snarled, its eyes burning with hatred. It lunged at the men, but they stood their ground, the symbol in their hands pulsing with power. A wave of energy erupted from the symbol, striking the creature and throwing it back against the wall. Section 10. The forest's grip, Sarah's lasting fear. The creature, weakened and defeated, let out a deafening roar before vanishing into thin air, leaving behind only a faint whiff of sulfur. Sarah, trembling with fear and exhaustion, collapsed onto the floor, the 2 men rushing to her side. "It's all right, child," one of the men said, his voice kind. "You're safe now. The creature is gone." They helped her to her feet and led her out of the cabin, into the cool night air. The forest, so menacing before, seemed strangely peaceful now, bathed in the soft glow of the moon. Sarah never forgot her terrifying night in Blackwood Forest. Though she was safe now, the memory of the creature, of the old woman's transformation, continued to haunt her dreams. She knew, deep down, that the forest held many secrets, and some things were best left undisturbed.